He fell in love with an alien and changed the universe. Rain tapped softly on the old workshop roof as Ethan Miles adjusted a piece of metal on his workbench. The smell of oil and hot iron filled the air. Outside, thunder rolled across the valley, echoing through the forest. It was an ordinary evening, until the lights flickered and went out. Ethan sighed. "Not again," he muttered, grabbing a flashlight. The storm was stronger than usual tonight, and the power often failed this deep in the woods. But then he heard something strange, a low humming sound, not from the storm, but from outside. He stepped to the window and froze. A bright purple glow shimmered between the trees. The light pulsed like a heartbeat, painting the rain silver. Ethan's curiosity pushed away his fear. He took his jacket, opened the door, and stepped into the storm. The air smelled of ozone, sharp and electric. The humming grew louder until it vibrated in his chest. Then, just beyond the clearing, he saw it. A small, metallic craft, half buried in mud and smoke. Its surface rippled like liquid metal, glowing faintly from within. Ethan's heart raced. It looked like something out of a science fiction dream. He ran closer, and that's when he saw her. She lay motionless beside the wreck, her skin shining a deep violet under the rain, her silver hair tangled and wet. She looked human, almost. Her features were too perfect. Her eyes, when they slowly opened, glowed faintly like stars. Ethan dropped to his knees beside her. "Hey, are you okay?" Her lips moved, but the words were strange, like a melody made of whispers. She coughed weakly and tried to rise, then collapsed. Without thinking, Ethan lifted her into his arms and carried her back to the workshop. Inside, the firelight flickered across the room as he laid her gently on a blanket. Her skin was warm to the touch, glowing softly. She was breathing, though her pulse felt different, slower, steadier. Ethan looked at her in awe. "What are you?" he whispered. She stirred. "Zyra," she said softly, her accent smooth and musical. "My name, Zyra." Ethan blinked. "Zyra? I'm Ethan. You crashed. Are you hurt?" She looked around with wide, bright eyes. "The ship, damaged. I must fix it. I cannot stay." "Well, you're not going anywhere tonight," Ethan said, handing her a towel. "You need rest." Zyra stared at him, uncertain. Humans were not supposed to find her, not yet. Her mission was secret, to observe Earth, not to make contact. But the storm had destroyed her navigation. Now she was stranded. Still, something about Ethan felt different. His voice was calm. His eyes showed no fear, only kindness. She nodded slowly. "Thank you, Ethan." The next morning the storm had cleared. Sunlight streamed through the windows, glinting off the metal tools. Zyra was already awake, standing near the window. The early light made her violet skin shimmer like silk. Ethan handed her coffee. She looked at it curiously, sniffed it, and smiled. "It smells strong." He chuckled. "It'll help you wake up." She took a cautious sip and nearly coughed, making Ethan laugh. "You'll get used to it." For the first time, Zyra smiled, a small, warm smile that made Ethan forget everything else for a moment. Then, outside, a sudden flash of light cut across the sky. a strange beam that wasn't from the sun. Zyra's smile vanished. "They found me," she whispered. "Who?" he asked, making silent sounds instead of words. "My kind, or worse." She turned toward him, her expression tense. "They will track the crash signal. If they find me, they may harm you." Ethan hesitated. "Let them come. I'm not letting them hurt you." Zyra's eyes softened. "You do not understand what they are capable of." He met her gaze. "Maybe not, but I'm not leaving you alone." Something shifted in that moment. Something neither of them could explain. A silent promise, fragile yet powerful, hung in the air between them. Hours passed as they worked together on the damaged ship. Ethan had never seen technology like this. Cables made of light, panels that responded to touch and thought. Zyra explained as much as she could, though much of it was beyond human understanding. At one point, she stopped and watched him work. "You learn fast," she said softly. Ethan smiled. "Guess I've got a good teacher." Her eyes met his again, and something stirred inside her, an emotion forbidden in her world where logic ruled over feeling. She stepped closer, almost without realizing it. "You are kind," she said. "It is rare among your kind." Ethan laughed lightly. "You haven't met many of us, then." Their hands brushed as they worked. For a moment, the air seemed to thrum again, not from the ship this time, but from something between them. That night, the stars returned. Ethan and Zyra sat outside the workshop, watching them glitter above the forest. She pointed at a cluster near the horizon. "My home," she said softly. "A world of light and crystal, but it feels very far away now." Ethan looked at her, the purple glow of her skin reflecting in his eyes. "Maybe home isn't just where you're from. Maybe it's where you feel safe." Zyra turned to him. "And where is your home, Ethan?" He smiled faintly. "Right here, I guess. With you." For a long time neither spoke. The night hummed softly around them. Two hearts, one human, one alien, beat in quiet harmony. But far above, beyond the stars, something stirred. A dark ship tracking Zyra's signal, moving closer every second. The universe was about to change. The signal in the sky. The night sky above the forest was quiet, but Zyra's eyes never left it. The stars she had once called home now felt like a threat. She could sense them, the watchers, the trackers, drifting closer. Her pulse shimmered faintly beneath her violet skin, each beat echoing with unease. Ethan was inside, repairing a damaged tool, humming softly to himself. The sound was ordinary, human, grounding. But when Zyra heard the faint rumble in the clouds, her body stiffened. It wasn't thunder this time. She ran to the workshop door. "Ethan?" He looked up, startled. "What's wrong?" She pointed toward the horizon. A streak of white fire cut through the clouds, vanishing behind the hills. The crash of sound that followed shook the trees. Ethan's eyes widened. "Is that—" "Yes," Zyra said. "They found me." By the time they reached the clearing, the forest smelled of smoke and metal. A second craft, darker, sharper, had landed. Its surface pulsed with blue light, and shadowy figures moved within the mist. Zyra crouched behind a fallen log, breathing hard. "They are hunters," she whispered. "Not my people. A faction that follows power, not peace. They will take what they can and destroy the rest." Ethan swallowed. "Then we can't stay here." She turned to him. "You cannot come with me, Ethan. It is too dangerous." He shook his head. "I'm not letting you face that alone." Her gaze softened for a moment, then hardened again. "You do not understand.
If they find you helping me, they will erase you. Your existence will vanish, like dust in light." Ethan's heart pounded, but he smiled faintly. "Then they'll have to catch me first." They hurried back to the workshop. Ethan started packing tools, food, water. Zyra moved quickly beside him, her movements graceful, almost otherworldly. She reached under her suit and pulled out a small silver cube. "This will hide my signal," she said. "For a short time." Ethan nodded. "How long is short?" "Minutes." "Great." The cube glowed softly, humming as a veil of invisible energy spread across the room. For a brief moment, the air shimmered, then stilled. Zyra stepped closer. "Once the cube fails, they will know what we are again. We must go north. There are caves beyond the ridge." Ethan glanced at the rain still dripping outside. "Then let's move." The forest felt alive as they ran, every sound magnified, every flicker of light sharp. Branches snapped underfoot, the smell of moss and lightning thick in the air. Behind them, faint mechanical sounds echoed, footsteps that weren't quite human. Zyra suddenly stopped. "Wait." She lifted her hand and pressed her fingers to the air. Light spread from her palm, forming a translucent sphere around them. Within it, Ethan could see ghostly shapes moving in the distance, tall, armored beings scanning the ground with blue beams. "They are close," she whispered. Ethan looked at her glowing hand, then at her face, focused, fierce, beautiful in the strange nightlight. "You're amazing," he murmured. Her eyes flicked toward him, puzzled. "Amazing? It means more than special." A tiny smile touched her lips. "Then you are amazing too, Ethan Miles." The spell flickered as one of the hunters turned their scanners toward the sphere. Zyra gasped. "They see us!" The beam cut through the trees, burning branches as it came. Ethan grabbed Zyra's hand. "Run!" They sprinted through the forest. Energy bolts struck the ground around them, bursting into white light. The air screamed with heat. Ethan tripped, rolled, and Zyra pulled him up without slowing. She wasn't just strong, she moved like light itself. At last, they reached the edge of a cliff. Below them stretched a wide river glinting in the moonlight. Behind, the sound of pursuit grew louder. Ethan looked down. "We'll never survive that jump." Zyra turned, holding the cube again. "Trust me." She pressed it against his chest. The glow spread over both of them, a soft pulse of energy. Then she took his hand and stepped backward into the air. They fell. The world blurred. Ethan felt no pain, no wind, just weightless silence. Then they landed, not in the river, but on its bank, safely. He looked at her in awe. You teleported us?" She smiled faintly. "I changed out a density. The river carried us through." Ethan laughed breathlessly. "You're full of surprises." She tilted her head. "You make me feel strange. Humans are unpredictable." He grinned. "You're just figuring that out now?" They followed the river until they reached the caves Zyra had mentioned, wide, hidden by hanging vines. Inside it was quiet, except for the steady drip of water. Ethan lit a small lantern, and the flicker of light danced on Zyra's skin. She sat down, breathing deeply, her energy fading. "My systems are weakening," she said softly. "If they catch me, it will end everything." Ethan knelt beside her. "Then they won't catch you." Her eyes met his, glowing faintly, filled with a mix of exhaustion and wonder. "You risk your life for someone not of my world. Why?" Ethan hesitated. "Because you're not just someone, Zyra." She looked at him for a long time. "In my world, emotions are forbidden. Love is seen as chaos. But now," she voice faltered, "now I understand why your kind fights so hard for it." Ethan reached out, brushing his fingers lightly across hers. "Love isn't chaos. It's what makes life worth fighting for." Zyra leaned closer, her eyes bright with starlight. "Then, perhaps, we fight together." Outside, thunder rolled again, not from nature this time, but from the skies above. The hunters had found their trail, and as the first beam of blue light cut through the forest canopy, Ethan realized
This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about destiny. The cave was silent, except for the soft dripping of water and the far-off rumble of thunder. Ethan and Zyra sat near the small lantern, its golden glow flickering across the stone walls. Outside, the world hunted them. Inside, time itself seemed to pause. Zyra's silent skin shimmered faintly in the dim light, and her silver hair clung to her cheeks. She was weak, but alert, her gaze fixed on something deeper in the cave. "There is a presence here," she whispered. "Something old, older than my world." Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" She stood slowly and moved toward the darkness, her fingertips brushing the walls. Symbols glowed faintly where she touched, ancient marks, spirals of light buried beneath centuries of dust. Ethan followed, his flashlight beam shaking slightly. The deeper they went, the warmer the air became. The rocks seemed alive, humming with a quiet energy. Then the passage opened into a vast chamber, a hidden world beneath the earth. The walls pulsed with soft blue light, and at the center stood a tall crystal spire, glowing from within. Tiny orbs of light floated gently through the air like living fireflies. Zyra's eyes widened. "Impossible," she whispered. "This is a nexus core, one of the ancient links between worlds." Ethan stared in awe. "You mean it's alien?" She nodded. "It predates even my people. The first travelers built these to cross galaxies without ships. I thought they were only legend." Ethan stepped closer. "And this one's been here all along? Under Earth?" "Yes," Zyra said softly, "hidden, waiting." They circled the crystal slowly. Its surface reflected their faces, human and alien, blending together in the glowing light. Ethan reached out and touched it. The crystal pulsed instantly, sending a ripple of light across the floor. Zyra gasped, "Ethan, don't!" But it was too late. The light flared, rising around them like a storm. Images flashed before their eyes, stars collapsing, worlds spinning, rivers of energy flowing through time. Ethan felt his heartbeat merge with the rhythm of the crystal. His mind filled with visions. Zyra's world of crystal towers and skies of silver, the dark hunters who chased her, and something greater, a cosmic web connecting every living soul. When the light faded, they were both on the ground, breathing hard. Zyra looked at him with astonishment. "You connected with it. No human should be able to." Ethan blinked. "I didn't mean to, it called to me." She knelt beside him, her expression serious. "The Nexus has chosen you. That means you share its frequency." "In English?" he asked weakly. She smiled slightly. "It means you are part of it now." For a while, neither spoke. The air hummed quietly, full of unseen power. Then, Zyra's wrist device beeped softly. She glanced at it, and her expression darkened. "The hunters are close, less than 1 kilometer. Ethan groaned. "They don't quit, do they?" "They can't. If they find this place, they will destroy the Nexus and Earth will become another ruined world." Ethan stood. "Then we defend it." She looked at him, surprised. "You would fight?" He nodded. "You think I came all this way to quit now?" Something like pride glimmered in her eyes. "Then we fight together." They began setting traps, small energy bursts Zyra made using fragments of her damaged ship. Ethan helped her anchor them near the tunnel entrances. As they worked, she said quietly, "When this is over, they will not stop hunting me. You could still leave. Save yourself." Ethan paused, then turned to face her. "You keep saying that, but leaving you was never an option." Zyra looked at him for a long moment, her expression unreadable. "You are strange, Ethan Miles." "Yeah," he said with a faint smile. "That's what people keep telling me."
Her hand brushed his as she reached for the next device, and for a heartbeat the air around them shimmered again, the same subtle energy from the crystal. Zyra froze. "The Nexus. It reacts when we touch him," she said softly. "What does that mean?" he asked. "I don't know," she admitted. "But maybe it means we are connected in ways beyond our understanding." Their eyes met, his full of warmth, hers full of light. The air between them glowed faintly, like the beginning of a new star. Moments later, the cave shook with a distant explosion. "They found the entrance," Zyra said sharply. The sound of heavy steps echoed through the tunnel, metallic, deliberate. The blue glow of enemy scanners flashed against the rocks. Ethan picked up a metal rod, the closest thing to a weapon he had. "Guess we're out of time." Zyra stood beside him, her palm glowing with bright violet energy. "Then let us make it count." The first hunter appeared, tall, armored, faceless. It raised its weapon, but before it could fire, Zyra unleashed a pulse of light that threw it back. Ethan moved fast, swinging the rod at another that tried to flank them. Sparks flew. He ducked behind a rock as a blast of blue plasma hit the wall. "Ethan, behind you!" Zyra shouted. He turned, too late. A hunter grabbed him by the shoulder, lifting him off the ground. Pain seared his arm. But as he struggled, his hand brushed the wall of the Nexus. The crystal flared again, this time brighter than before. Energy poured from the walls, flowing through Ethan like lightning. The hunter froze, screaming as light engulfed its armor, then disintegrated into dust. Zyra stared, stunned. You used the Nexus." Ethan blinked, his skin faintly glowing with the same energy. "I don't know how. It happened." She smiled breathlessly. "You are becoming more than human." He looked at her, still shaking. "What does that mean?" "It means," she said softly, "you may be the key to saving both our worlds." Outside, more hunters approached, their shadows stretching across the walls. The battle had only begun, but something had awakened inside them both. And for the first time, Zyra didn't just fear what was coming. She believed they could win.
The cave had fallen silent again, but the air still pulsed with power. The blue light of the Nexus crystal shimmered across the stone walls, reflecting in Ethan's eyes. His heartbeat had not yet returned to normal. He could still feel the energy inside him, alive, whispering, like a second rhythm beneath his skin. Zyra stood near the crystal, her expression unreadable. "You should not be able to do that," she said softly. "No human could survive direct contact with the Nexus." Ethan looked down at his hands. They glowed faintly, like fire trapped beneath his skin. "Maybe it chose me." Zyra stepped closer, scanning him with her wrist device. Strange symbols flickered across the small screen. Her brow furrowed. "Your biology has changed. Your cells are resonating at a higher frequency." "Is that bad?" asked Ethan. Zyra hesitated. "It is impossible. You are evolving." He smiled faintly. "Guess I'm a quick learner." Her serious gaze softened slightly. "You should not joke about this. What is happening to you could reshape everything, even the balance between worlds." Ethan shrugged. "Then maybe it's time someone did." Zyra studied him for a moment longer. Then, quietly, she said, "You remind me of the early travelers. They believed love could bind stars together." Ethan looked up at her. "You think love can do that?" Zyra's voice trembled just a little. "I am beginning to believe it might." Hours passed. They fortified the cave, preparing for another attack. The hunters were regrouping outside, their ships hovering like shadows above the forest. But in the quiet moments between preparations, Ethan and Zyra found themselves drawn back to the glowing crystal. Whenever they stood near it, The air hummed with a strange harmony, as if the Nexus recognized their bond. Zyra touched the crystal gently. It responds to emotion, to connection. When we are near, it awakens. Ethan moved beside her. So, we're its battery? She smiled slightly. Its heart, perhaps. As their reflections shimmered in the crystal surface, light rippled outward, soft and golden this time, not blue. The glow wrapped around them both like a living veil. Zyra gasped. "This is new." Ethan reached toward her, his voice low. "What's happening?" "The Nexus is syncing with us. Our energy fields are merging." The air vibrated, alive. Ethan felt her heartbeat through the light, steady, strong, beautiful. For a brief moment, it was as if the entire cave pulsed in rhythm with them. The lines between human and alien blurred into something greater. Zyra looked into his eyes, her voice barely audible. "Ethan, this is not just science. It is connection." He smiled softly. "Feels like more than that." Before either could speak again, the cave shook violently. A booming roar echoed from the tunnels. The hunters were back. Blue plasma beams tore through the outer rock. Ethan grabbed Zyra's arm and pulled her behind the crystal as chunks of stone rained down. She raised her hand, firing bursts of violet light from her palm. Energy exploded against the attackers, lighting the cave like a thunderstorm. But there were too many. Zyra crouched beside Ethan, her breathing ragged. "They will not stop. Their command ship is above the forest. They have orders to erase all traces of the Nexus." Ethan looked at the glowing crystal, then at her. "Then we don't let them." He stepped forward, placing his hand on the Nexus again. This time, the light didn't resist him. It embraced him. The energy surged, flowing through him like wildfire. Zyra shouted, "Ethan, stop! It could burn you alive!" He turned to her, eyes glowing gold now. "Maybe, but if we don't stop them, Earth burns too." The Nexus flared. A deep hum filled the cave. The hunters froze, their weapons flickering as the light swallowed them whole. Ethan felt the power grow until it became almost unbearable. He screamed, not in pain, but in raw energy. Zyra ran to him, wrapping her arms around him. "Ethan, let it guide you, not control you." Her voice anchored him. The wild light softened, focusing. Together they stood before the crystal, two silhouettes surrounded by radiance. The power balanced, not destructive, but creative, like the heartbeat of a new world. When the light faded, the hunters were gone, disintegrated into dust. Only silence remained. Zyra looked at Ethan. His glow was fading now, but his eyes still held that faint shimmer of otherworldly light. "You saved us," she whispered. He sank to one knee, exhausted. "We saved each other." She knelt beside him, touching his cheek gently. "You risked everything. Why?" He smiled weakly. "You already know why." Zyra's hand trembled slightly. "On my world, I would be punished for feeling this, for letting emotion guide me. But with you, I feel alive for the first time." Their faces were close now, close enough for him to feel the warmth of her breath, for her to feel the pulse in his neck. "Then feel it. No one's watching." For a long moment, the world outside didn't exist, only the cave, the soft light of the crystal, and the slow, unspoken rhythm of two hearts that had found each other against all odds. Far above the forest, the clouds parted. The dark command ship hovered silently, observing the energy that had just torn through the mountains. Inside, a figure watched the readings, tall, cloaked, and silent. "Subject Zyra 9 has bonded with the human. The Nexus responds to them both." "Then?" asked a second voice. The figure turned away from the glowing screens. "Then the prophecy is true.
The hybrid bond has awakened. Outside the ship, dozens of smaller vessels began to descend toward Earth. The hunt was far from over.
Dawn touched the mountains like a whisper. Smoke curled above the shattered trees, and a thin mist hung over the valley. The forest had survived, but barely. Ethan sat on a rock near the cave's entrance, staring at his hands. The faint golden glow was still there, pulsing slowly beneath his skin. It no longer frightened him. It felt like part of him now. Zyra stepped out from the shadows, carrying a small crystal orb that hummed softly. "The Nexus core stabilized overnight," she said. "You did it. You linked with it." Ethan smiled faintly, "And nearly blew up the planet in the process." Zyra gave a small, amused sound, half laugh, half sigh. "You were reckless, but brave." He glanced at her. "Is that a compliment from a scientist?" "From me," she said quietly. "It is a confession." Ethan looked away, feeling his heart tighten. The moment was fragile, too real. Before he could speak, Zyra's device beeped sharply. Her expression darkened. "They found us." Above the valley, the sky split open. Dozens of dark ships descended like falling stars, their engines howling. The ground shook, birds fled into the smoke. Ethan jumped to his feet. "That's the fleet?" Zyra nodded grimly. "The High Command. They'll destroy everything to reclaim the Nexus." "Then we don't give them the chance." Zyra turned to him sharply. "Ethan, you can't face them. The energy inside you is unstable. If you push it too far, you'll burn up?" "Yeah, I figured. Guess that's what love does sometimes." She stepped closer. "You think this is love?" He met her gaze. "You don't?" For a moment, neither spoke. The roar of engines filled the air, the universe closing in on them. Then Zyra reached for his hand. "If this is love, then we fight together." They ran into the forest, branches whipping past as the sky thundered above them. Zyra's wrist display flickered, streams of alien code projected in the air. "There's an old research outpost beyond the ridge. We can overload its power core, create a feedback surge. It might disable their ships temporarily." Ethan smirked. "You mean blow it up?" Zyra hesitated. "Yes." He grinned. "Now you're talking my language." They climbed through the ruins of the ridge, metal debris from ancient crashes half buried in the soil. The air smelled of ozone and fire. When they reached the outpost, it was half collapsed, but still alive, screens glowing with strange purple light. Zyra pressed her hand to a control pad. "It still responds to my DNA." Ethan placed his hand beside hers. The console flared brighter. The system recognized them both. Zyra looked at him in surprise. "It shouldn't do that." He shrugged. "Guess it likes us." The walls trembled as alien dropships landed outside. Plasma fire cracked through the trees. Ethan clenched his fists. Golden light coiled around them. "Zyra, start the overload. I'll hold them off." She caught his arm. "You can't fight an army." He smiled softly. "Watch me." Outside, the world became chaos. Beams of blue and red light carved through the mist as soldiers poured from their ships. Tall, armored, relentless. Ethan stepped into the clearing, hands glowing like suns. The first shot hit him square in the chest and dissolved in midair. The energy turned to dust. He raised his hands, and a wave of light erupted from him, sending soldiers back like leaves in a storm. From the outpost, Zyra watched, heart pounding. "He's becoming the conduit. The Nexus lives through him." The console screamed in warning, power surging beyond safe levels.
Zyra slammed her hands on the controls. Just a little more. Then a blinding flash split the sky. The overload exploded outward, sweeping through the valley like a second sunrise. The alien ships froze mid-air, then crashed into the forest, powerless. Zyra stumbled outside, searching through the smoke. "Ethan!" For a moment, there was only silence. Then from the haze, a figure appeared. Ethan, still standing, his body wrapped in faint light. She ran to him, tears streaking down her ash-stained cheeks. "You did it," she whispered. He smiled, exhausted. "Told you I'd hold them off." Zyra pressed her forehead to his. "You nearly died." He chuckled weakly. "Worth it." But the quiet didn't last. From the smoke rose a darker shape, a massive vessel descending slowly. Unlike any other, it was smooth, black, alive. Zyra's expression turned pale. "That's not command. That's her." Ethan frowned. "Her who?" "The matriarch," she whispered. "The one who created me." The ship's surface opened like a flower of steel, and a tall, shimmering figure floated down, elegant, silver-skinned, eyes burning with cold light. "Zyra Zero," the matriarch's voice echoed. "You have violated your purpose." Her gaze shifted to Ethan. "And you, human anomaly, you've touched the forbidden." Ethan stepped in front of Zyra. "Funny, I thought touching her was the best thing I ever did." The matriarch's expression didn't change, but the air grew heavier, electric. "You have doomed 2 civilizations with your weakness." Zyra raised her chin. "No, Mother. We've united them." The matriarch extended a hand, energy coiled like lightning between her fingers. "Then you will die together." Ethan's glow brightened again, gold meeting silver in the air between them. The ground cracked, trees bent backward from the force. Zyra grabbed Ethan's hand. "If this is the end," he smiled, "then let's make it beautiful." They closed their eyes. The world vanished in a surge of light. When the flash faded, the valley was gone. In its place stood a crater filled with quiet blue mist. The alien fleet had vanished. The matriarch's ship, gone. Only the faint echo of 2 heartbeats remained in the wind.
Silence. That was the first thing Ethan felt. Not peace, not pain, just silence that stretched forever. He opened his eyes to a sky that wasn't a sky at all. It shimmered like liquid glass, filled with slow-moving stars and ribbons of light that flowed like rivers. He was floating, weightless, surrounded by a vast sea of color, gold, violet, and deep blue blending into infinity. "Zyra?" His voice was soft, swallowed by the light. Then he heard it, a heartbeat, steady and close. From the glow ahead she emerged, her form wrapped in strands of silver energy. Her eyes opened, bright and calm. "You're alive," Ethan whispered. Zyra reached for his hand. "We both are, but not as before." He looked down at his body. The faint gold shimmer was gone, replaced by lines of light running under his skin, like constellations. "Where are we?" "The Nexus," Zyra said quietly. "The core dimension between worlds. We triggered a fusion. Human and Solara energy merged. We created a bridge." Ethan floated closer. "So, we didn't die?" She smiled faintly. "We changed." For a long moment they just floated together, surrounded by quiet wonder. Streams of cosmic dust drifted past them, and fragments of memory appeared in the air. Glimpses of Earth, her alien homeworld, and faces of people they'd left behind. Zyra touched one of the images, and it rippled. My planet is gone from the war. Yours is burning from pollution. Yet here, there's balance. Ethan frowned. A balance between what? Between life and the energy that drives it, she replied. You became a living channel, Ethan. You linked the human heart with the Solaran mind. He gave a soft laugh. Guess I was never good at staying in one world. Zyra looked at him seriously. You don't understand. The Nexus is alive now, because of us. It's learning. It's watching. Suddenly the light around them shifted, forming shapes, outlines of beings made of pure energy. Voices echoed through the void, blending into harmony. Starborn, two souls from different worlds, now bound as one. Ethan glanced at Zyra. Are they talking to us? She nodded slowly. The Nexus consciousness. It recognizes us. The light swirled closer, forming a massive shape, neither man nor machine, but something vast and ancient. You have defied destruction. You have merged the incompatible. You are the key to renewal. Ethan squinted. Renewal of what? Of all worlds. The light extended toward them, touching their chests. Visions flooded their minds, galaxies blooming like flowers, dead planets reborn, energy flowing freely between stars. Zyra gasped. It's showing us creation itself. Ethan's voice trembled. You mean we can rebuild everything? If you choose, the voice answered. But every creation demands sacrifice. The light dimmed slightly. Zyra's expression grew serious. It wants one of us to stay. Ethan blinked. Stay here? She nodded. To keep the balance, must remain as part of the Nexus forever. The other can return, carrying the seed of renewal. Ethan stared at her. You're not even thinking about volunteering, are you? Zyra's eyes shimmered with tears. Ethan, your world needs you. Humanity still has a chance. Mine is already gone. He shook his head fiercely. No, I'm not leaving you again, not after everything. Zyra placed her hand on his chest, her touch warm and gentle. You taught me love. Let me teach you legacy. He caught her wrist. Zyra. But the Nexus began to glow brighter, as if time itself was pressing forward. The voices echoed. Choose before the balance fades. The air trembled with power. Ethan's mind raced. Earth, Zyra, the future, all colliding at once. Finally, he looked into her eyes and whispered, Then we both stay. Zyra blinked in surprise. Ethan? He smiled. If this place is alive because of us, then it needs both of us. Love isn't balance. It's connection. He reached for her hand, and the Nexus flared violently. The cosmic beings pulsed, confused, then stabilizing as gold and silver light intertwined. Impossible, the voices whispered. Two hearts merging beyond the law of energy. Zyra gasped as the entire dimension shifted around them. Stars rearranged, rivers of light spiraled into new galaxies. The Nexus was rewriting itself, no longer demanding one to stay. It was adapting, learning from their bond. Ethan pulled her close. See, we make our own rules. She laughed softly, tears in her eyes. Humans, you always change the universe. Moments later, the light expanded, wrapping around them like a cocoon. When it faded, they stood not in the void, but on a new world. A vast meadow stretched before them, silver grass glowing under twin suns. Waterfalls fell upward into the sky, and flowers hummed softly with energy. Ethan breathed deeply. Where are we? Zyra looked around in awe. A world born from us. A beginning. They walked through the glowing field. Each step left behind tiny bursts of light that grew into living plants. The planet itself was alive with their energy. Zyra turned to him. "You see, the universe doesn't end. It just transforms." Ethan smiled, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "Then let's make this one beautiful." She rested her head on his chest. "Together? Always." The twin suns rose higher, casting long golden beams over their new home. Above them, the stars aligned, forming a symbol in the sky, two interlocked circles glowing brighter than anything else. Somewhere in the fabric of space, the voice of the Nexus whispered, "The Starborn have awakened."
Silence. The twin suns had circled the new world 12 times since the day Ethan and Zyra created it. The planet had no name, not yet, but it was alive. Rivers flowed with shimmering light, trees sang when the wind passed through them, and above, 2 moons danced like gentle guardians. Ethan stood on the cliff overlooking the valley, watching a storm of silver rain drift across the horizon. Every droplet that touched the soil grew into glowing flowers. He smiled. "Still think I can't garden?" Zyra laughed softly behind him. "You didn't plant them, Ethan. The planet responds to emotion. You were thinking of me again." He turned with a grin. "Then I hope it keeps thinking that way forever." Zyra stepped beside him, her eyes reflecting the sun's. "Forever is a fragile word. Even here." Ethan frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" She pointed to the sky. High above, a faint ripple moved through the stars. Not natural, not native. Something's approaching, something from the old universe. That night, the air grew still. The stars flickered, and for the first time since their rebirth, the new world trembled. Ethan and Zyra stood together on the glowing shore, staring upward as a massive object tore through the sky. It wasn't a meteor. It was a ship. Old, broken, human-made. The same insignia still burned faintly on its hull. Earth Fleet Command. Ethan's heart raced. Humans. Survivors. Zyra tilted her head, scanning the wreck. "They found a way to follow the energy trail we left when the Nexus collapsed." The ship descended roughly, crashing into a field of silver grass. A plume of light burst upward. Ethan didn't wait, he ran toward it. "Ethan, wait!" Zyra called, but he was already gone. He reached the crash site just as the hatch hissed open. Smoke poured out, and a few figures stumbled forward, worn, scarred, but unmistakably human. The first one lifted her helmet. "My God, we found it!" Ethan froze. "Captain Rains?" The woman blinked, eyes wide. "Ethan Cole, you were reported dead 2 years ago." Ethan smiled faintly. "I got promoted to something else." Zyra appeared behind him, glowing faintly in the starlight. The humans stepped back, hands instinctively reaching for their weapons. "It's all right," Ethan said quickly. "She's with me." Rains studied Zyra cautiously. "That isn't human." Zyra spoke softly, her voice like a song. "Not human, not alien, something new." They sat around a small fire made of luminous stones. The humans explained how Earth had changed, the atmosphere poisoned, oceans shrinking. They had been searching for a new world for decades, following energy trails across bed systems until they found this one. Rains looked at Ethan. "We don't have much left. Maybe a few thousand people in cryo. We need a home." Ethan looked at Zyra. Her face was calm, but her eyes glowed faintly, a sign of deep thought. "This world is alive. It responds to balance. If humans bring war, greed, or fear here, it will wither." Rains hesitated. "We've lost too much already. We came here for peace." Ethan took Zyra's hand.
Then maybe this is where it begins again. For days, the humans worked to repair their ship and awaken the others from stasis. Zyra taught them how to commune with the planet, how to speak without words, how to feel harmony instead of control. The people listened, learning slowly. But not all of them understood. One man, Commander Steele, grew impatient. This place is a miracle, but miracles can be tamed. Imagine what this energy could do for Earth if we harvested it. Ethan warned him, "This world isn't a machine, it's alive." Steele sneered, "Everything alive can be controlled." That night, he tried. He led a small group to the planet's core, a glowing lake where the energy of creation flowed strongest. They planted extraction devices, hoping to siphon its power. The ground screamed. The air turned black. Zyra woke first. "Ethan, they're hurting her." They ran through the forest, which twisted in pain, branches burning, rivers boiling. In the distance, the energy field erupted into chaos. When they reached the lake, Steele's machines were already melting, energy lashing like lightning. Ethan shouted, "Turn it off!" Steele backed away. "It's too late!" The core roared, sending a blast that threw everyone back. Zyra staggered to her feet, eyes glowing bright white. "Ethan, I can stop it, but it will take everything I have." He grabbed her shoulders. "No, we do it together, like before." She hesitated, then nodded. They joined hands, their bodies glowing gold and silver once more. Energy spiraled around them, pulling the chaos inward. The world's pulse steadied, pain turning into calm. The extraction machines dissolved into dust. As the light faded, the forest returned to peace. Flowers bloomed where fire had touched. The world healed. Steele dropped to his knees, trembling. I didn't understand." Ethan looked at him. "Now you do. Life doesn't need to be taken, to be shared." Weeks passed. The humans built small settlements, guided by Zyra's wisdom and Ethan's strength. The planet accepted them, slowly, cautiously, but with hope. One morning, as the suns rose, Rains approached the pair. "We've decided to name this world." Ethan smiled. "What name?" She pointed to the sky, where the twin moons overlapped perfectly, forming a glowing ring. "Elendra. It means born of light." Zyra smiled softly. "A fitting name for our child." Ethan took her hand, and for us, the ones who made it. As twilight fell, the couple stood on the same cliff where it all began. The world below shimmered with silver rivers and golden trees. Ethan turned to her. "You know, sometimes I think we didn't change the universe." Zyra looked furiously. "No?" He smiled. "I think love did." She leaned closer, her voice a whisper. "Then may it keep changing it, forever." They kissed as the suns dipped below the horizon, and above them, the stars formed the same ancient symbol, two circles intertwined, glowing brighter than all others. Far beyond, across galaxies, the nexus pulsed once, a quiet heartbeat echoing through eternity. The Starborn had returned, not to rule, but to remind.